Hey guys, this is just an example of how we now create maps on SideQuest. This video is designed to help dungeon masters in mapping out new maps. A few things I want to go over first. Here is an example of the kind of map quality that we can expect of SideQuest. Now there is a level of simplicity here. I did want to add different variations to shades of grass and dirt and that kind of thing. There will be tile sets available for that in future. What is a tile set? Okay, so if you go into your tile controls options and then click on the tile browser, you should be able to see a folder called tiles, within which are all the assets we use for the game. This is continually updated, continually improved, and as more and more assets are both created and ripped from sprite sheets that we use, we should be able to see an increasing array of visual styles available. So for example, if I'd like to add let's say I'd like to add a lovely plume of flowers in front of this barrel. All I have to do is drag it on, there we go, and move it to where we'd like it. Now if it is not on the correct layer, we can press this button to bring it to the layer that we want. There we go, lovely bushel of flowers adjacent to this stall. So an example of the kind of difference that using a tile set makes. To start with, all of these tiles are 32 by 32 scaled up to 100 by 100 pixels. What that means is that compression on these tiles is very easy for the virtual tabletop. It means the loading issues that we've been having are gone. You may also notice that the camera is following around the player as they move. This is a new intentional feature. It means that players won't have to continue to right click and drag throughout. And whenever you walk under a tree, it is transparent. You can't walk into trees. We use invisible walls to make that happen. You can walk through some of them, but don't worry about that. And animated tiles as well. We can use, because we're using such a simple visual style, we can have animated tile sets, which is a small example of that. For this kind of thing, say you wanted your players to read this, but you didn't want to necessarily add the thing yourself, you can create a journal entry. No, that's a weapon. You can create a journal entry. Let's call it road marking. And you can drag that journal entry onto that. Meaning now players can click on that themselves and open it and read it themselves. There's an example of this in the old version of the VT2. So carrying on, these maps are significantly larger than the other maps we were using. A map of this size using Dungeon Draft would have taken, very easily would have taken over 50 kilobytes. This one, because we use tiles, each instance of this tile, for example, each instance of these tiles only needs to be loaded in once, and then it will just give coordinates for each other tile to load. Each version of this tree, only one version of this tree is downloaded to the player's client, and then coordinates for where to place those versions of the tree are then sent to their client, which is a much lower strain on people with slower internet speeds. So here's another example of a new feature. Doorways, dungeons, anything you add on a map, you can walk into it. Now if I were on a player account, that would have also automatically loaded me into this map. This map is only incomplete by one thing. It just needs another barrier along a boundary along this side and a boundary on the vertical. These maps are very quick and easy to make, much easier than they are in Dungeon Draft, and still have the same kind of visual quality. You'll see that also they support animations. So this is one that I whipped up very quickly. I'll show you how quick it is to make these. We create a new scene. Let's call it Dungeon 3. Now, as per scene dimensions, because we're using 100 by 100 squares, for every 1,000 is 10. So if I wanted to create a 1 by 1 grid, which heaven knows why I'd want to do that, clicking this would create a 1 by 1 grid. Quite a small map, I know. You'll notice there's also padding around the outside. That's That's created by this padding percentage slider. What we generally want to do is take that all the way down to 0. We don't want any of the field available for clicking on outside of what we're trying to map. And bring this up to 1000 by 1000, we'll make it a 10 by 10 grid. So let's try that now. Good, here's our 10 by 10 grid. So let's see how quick it is to make a dungeon like this using this tile set. So we need to go into our tile browser. We'll find that on tile controls, tile browser. And here are the simple tiles for the memory temple. There are also a number of tiles in our tile set folder. So let's see if we can find some walls. There we go, maybe a nice staircase there, and a staircase going down. And you'll have to hover over these video files to see what they are. This one's a wall, this one is a torch. We're going to want the torch. We're going to want the wall, there we go. And we can place that in there, nice and flush. We can add this tile to the center. Add these. And you can Control C V to really speed up placing these down. Now if you find that these are overlapping something, remember you can just use let's make that a bit clearer, you can use this tool to make it appear above. I'll add a little doorway there. Generally speaking, for dungeons, we want to have the outer wall of the dungeon marked. Some of these are smaller than they should be, there we go. And the right hand side. And right, there we have it. We have most of a dungeon. Now I am creating a tile that is this shape, that'll be added there. All of these tiles have to be created in Photoshop and ripped from the sprite sheet. I'll give you a bit of an example of the kind of thing that we work with. So we have to go through and make every tile individually, but once the tile is made, it's added to the game. And it can be used in any one of the, like this one for example. This tile was made, finalized, upscaled to 200 by 250 I believe, and now can be popped in the game just like that. Have a little underground flower merchant. Right, so I hope that makes it a bit clearer on what we're doing and what we're building for SideQuest. Hopefully this should not only make the visual style a bit more appealing, but also give us a bit of leeway when it comes to bandwidth and reduce the limitations there. With this new module, which allows player characters to walk directly from one scene to another, what that will do for these characters is as they walk out of this scene, it will preload their client onto the scene that it's directed at. So they will automatically load into the scene and continue to be able to navigate the game world. Okay guys, I hope that was helpful. This is the first of what will be a number of like pseudo instructional videos. We're not actually officially doing any YouTube content or anything like that until September. I hope this gives a bit of a breakdown of how to make maps, and you'll know that these maps are just truly huge. We can go up to, I know this sounds insane, but we can go up to a square mile in map size before we start to hit the same file size limitations as we were before. I've limited this map to, let's take a look, to 64,000, so 64 by 64. There's no reason you can't do double or even triple that if you choose to, but often less is more when it comes to really adding in the details that you want. And let's see if we can find that little store that I had hidden around here somewhere. You see it just keeps going, and there we go, there's the edge of the map. So these are pretty significant sized maps. We can make them larger. We're hopefully, please do it in square units. So if it's 64 across, have it 64 tall, and that way we can slot them all in next to each other, so that when a player walks to the outer boundary of a map, they should disappear from this side of the map and then reappear on the new one. So yep, guys, this is what I've been working on. It's taken a long time. I understand. I really appreciate your patience. In the meantime, if there's any tile sets or features that you'd like to add, or anything that you'd like to point out to me that I may have done wrong, please do let me know. Here is an example of how our invisible walls are working, and we have a really kind of a wide array of mapping there, and you'll see things like this. These are how you add little elements to the world. You know, say perhaps I wanted to add a barrel in the middle of There you go, there's a barrel. And if the players open the barrel, we can actually set it up so that there are two tiles, one with an open barrel and one with a closed barrel beneath each other. That would use the roofs tool, which if you set that to a roof, all that does is when a player goes under it, it becomes semi-translucent the way that the trees work. But also what you can do with these maps is if you have a, say, let's have some flowers there. Pop them on top of the barrel. So if the players come along and take those flowers, you can remove it from the scene and then add it to their inventory. Okay, yeah, I hope that's helpful. I hope that kind of gives you a breakdown of what we're building. Here we go. Why don't we add something interesting to this map now? In this part of the woods, why don't we have a little shrine to a forgotten god? Let's see what we've got there. Oh, very nice. Pop that slightly under that tree. And have this here. Maybe this can offer a boon or a buff to players, or maybe this can be an ancient temple or a plot hook of some sort. Or maybe even this could activate and be a combat encounter. Who knows? Next video will be on monster types, adding monsters. I don't have any examples with me. Oh, I have the red goblin example with me right now. You can add these to the map and disperse them as you will. When we go back to the old experience, the points-based experience system, these will have a challenge rating associated with them, and there will be a lookup table of how much XP they get. For example, slaying these would be 200 experience points to the person that slew it, plus they would roll on the loot table as before. I do want to say a massive thank you to you guys for running modules in the meantime while I got this build fleshed out. This should be ready and live for Dungeon Masters to trial at the end of this month. Hopefully there'll be a lot more tile sets. I aim to have 5 different biome of tile sets prepared by them. If it is only 3 by then some of those will be dungeon tile biomes. So we'll have this one, a slightly grayer, like dirty, maybe a desert kind of map, and then also a snowy map for building out Balthazar's Rest. So yes, this is what I've been working on. I hope you guys like it, and open to any feedback. And yeah, thanks for watching, I guess.